Okay, things are looking better. We are gonna see how long this can last. My internet's been having some issues lately. I'm not sure why. I think we should be good. Um, so we'll have to see here. Okay, so we are gonna get started. Let me link this to the relevant parties. And hope that it doesn't go down. So we have the chapter pulled up here. As usual, we're going to go through it. It's going to be probably a pretty quick read through this time. And we're going to talk about the chapter. We're going to talk about what's next, which for February is unfortunately nothing because there is going to be another break. But we are also going to talk about the new mobile game which came out. And I've been playing it. I know a lot of other people in the Makai Discord have been playing it. And it's cool. It's great that there's another mobile game, but there's some interesting things to talk about there. So for now, I just want to wait for one or two people to arrive, and we can get started on the discussion. So I have had a pretty good week. I'm trying to I've had a hankering to get into some new stuff. So I started season 3 of Doom Patrol. I started Arkham City, which I've been playing a lot of. And that's just pushing other stuff further back, like RoboCop. The RoboCop game I need to finish. I started the RoboCop documentary, speaking of RoboCop. That was very synergistic of those to come out around the same time. The 4-hour RoboCop documentary, they split it up into episodes. And the video game. And I have been playing a little bit of the Cyberpunk DLC, Phantom Liberty. I've been playing a little bit of the new One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 DLC and trying to unlock all the characters in that game. And then I have been completing some goals in Tears of the Kingdom. I've been just trying to cross all the I's, dot all the T's there before I declare that game done. I've done a lot. I found every shrine, found every light route. I'm trying to find every cave, which I'm almost there. And after that, I'm going to do a little looking to see if I can kind of do the remaining side quests. But if I can't find them, I may just say, hey, it's good or done. It's over. So it's going to be crazy to kind of finally say, yeah, that game is finished. Because I never did that. I didn't go back to Breath of the Wild too much after the initial stint of playing it. So if anyone's in the chat, I cannot see that. I know that's a very cringe thing to say if there is no one in the chat, but usually there are one or two people by this point of the stream. So that's why I said. I'm not having delusions of grandeur here. So what else is there to really talk about? I don't know. I gotta watch more movies. I think in terms of movies, last year I did like 97 or 98 movies. So close to 100. But for some reason, if I had just counted before the end of the year, I would have made sure to get to 100, but I didn't. And that was a shame. I always try to get to 100 movies every year, watch basically for the first time. And last year I was almost there, but I didn't get there. This year I have seen a few so far. I have to log in on Letterboxd to see exactly what I've seen. Hold on. We'll never allow ads on Letterboxd as much as I like that site. Letterboxd ads are so annoying. They're like all video ads. Hey, Zatch Gamer, what's up? Welcome. Yeah, I was just waiting for anyone to come in so we could start the discussion. So this year I watched Wonka on the 1st. I watched Mad Max, the original Mad Max, on the 4th. I watched Poor Things on the 7th. That movie's going to be a big contender for the Oscars. I watched The Gray Man on the 15th. That is a movie by the Russo brothers who did most of the Avengers films. Not most of them, but the ones that the ones that capped it off. And I watched Gurren Lagann the movie, the #1, on the 17th, which was a theater re-release for that anime's 15th anniversary. So that's pretty neat. So in total, how many is that this month? That's 5, which, I mean, on pace, right? In a sense. If I can do like 3, 4 more this month, that'll be on pace to get to 100 this year. But I would prefer to do even more. So I might watch something after we're done here tonight. So thanks for coming, everyone. Hey, Trollmaster, aka Royal Ghost. Hello, Paisano. you might say. So I think that we can get this read-through started. So we start right where we left off last time, with Zillion's head thudding to the ground after Brago punches it. The old man, who has not been seen since he helped Sherry a couple chapters ago, he hasn't been doing much with that sniper rifle. Now he's using it to observe. The kids are like, "Hey, old timer, where's Mama? Is she okay?" "Yes, don't worry. She's going to be all right. You've grown up to be quite a strong young man, haven't you, sir?" Of course, referring to Brago. "You've grown quite a bit," Sherry says. Brago stares at her, imposing as usual. Sherry's wondering what's going to happen. Brago notices her wounds. "Good. It seems you haven't lost your edge over the years. It's been a while since we've... what is it?" "Sherry, just cast Gravity Ray, quickly. Rip some of his clothes off." I've watched a couple reactions to this chapter on YouTube. I think along with the Kiyomaru mispronunciation, I think we need to add I don't even know how to say how these people are saying Gravity Ray. I can't even imitate it. I have to watch it like 10 times to just be able to imitate how these reactors say that. We got a message retracted from Paisley, different from... Oh, you changed your account. Okay. Well, welcome back. Yes, the reactors, the couple that I've watched have not been very good with pronouncing Gravity Ray. And Sherry notices he's using the spell's gravity to tightly compress the muscles around my bones. It hurts a little, but it's, the purpose is to heal, which is who'd have thought? Who'd have thought it could be used as a healing spell? This is something I've loved seeing in Zatch Spell 2, and it seems to be something Raikou always wants to make sure to highlight with nearly everyone, is the fine-tuning of the ability to use spells in new ways. And we see that once more in this chapter in a decidedly more painful manner later on. Gravity Ray, also on the arm. The gravity generated by Gravity Ray isn't restricted to a downward pull. It can be used to apply this kind of pressure as well. What's more, Brago is dressing my wounds? Yeah, I read them out loud. So to be clear, this is not a first-time reaction, which I think might be pretty clear already. Just by the way, my reactions are not too, strong, and I also just reference stuff that happens later in the chapter. But I just think it's fun to do that, to sort of take everyone through the chapter again, re-experience it, remind us of what we're discussing. And, I enjoy Roger Space's streams, which are live reactions, but these are not live, so that's why I don't put reaction in the title of the videos. Because I think if I did put reaction, a lot of people would think it's a first-time reaction and then be disappointed once they actually watched it. So I don't want to do that. So Sherry is saying, "What in the world? Brago is the one healing me. He really has grown up," as the old man said. "All right, you should be able to move those joints a little better now. Get ready. When I awoke earlier, I'd missed his vitals. Now the real battle is about to begin." Huh? Yeah, it's pretty incredible to miss his vitals when you punched his head off. Head would probably be a vital, but I suppose since he did not get his brain, The vitals were missed. Real goat here trying to avoid clickbait. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do try. A note about the thumbnail for the stream, by the way. I was struggling to find what to do for a thumbnail. You know, I've already used the Sherry and Brago. I think did I use the clear file or did I use them on the group photo that I have the print of? I don't remember if I used the clear file yet, but I don't know if I want to use the clear file because it's kind of weird looking on the camera. So I just thought something that would be fun to do would be to show this Lego piranha plant that I just made reading the spell book. Which in a sense is sort of related to the chapter in a way, right? Because we have the little plant mouths reading the sorcery spells. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I think, you know, most people aren't going to connect those two things. So we have Zillion, whose head is alive and it has sprouted little legs as he smiles. This lady is standing next to him. Sherry, you know, they get ready for battle, Sherry and Brago. And then, let me zoom in a little bit here. She breaks the spell bottle. We know what's about to happen. We've seen these battles before. They're going to go full power. They're going to use the full power of the spell, probably at great personal cost to the villain. Well, then you are correct, Royal Ghost. It sort of is. So there you go. I'm glad that someone else got that. So this is Ryu's power, which they already used. They still have some left. Now, it doesn't particularly look like they need it to be that specific spell power, which is sort of different than what we've seen before, right? Where they imbibe the owners with a specific type of spell power. Now, it seems like it probably could have been any spell power. They're just using it in a very specific way, which we're about to see. So Brago jumps at Zillion and the lady villain, but Zillion's body comes back to life, and it's still transformed from Ryu's spell, grabs at him. Brago dodges that, and she starts chanting. So I'm not going to bother reading the sorcery incantation here. Big thanks to Raze and those who work with him, Zatch Gamer, for writing all this phonetically. It's extremely impressive, but I will leave it to anime voice actors to read if that ever comes to pass. There is the live reactor who did recite the chanting. Yes, I saw that. And he, if I recall, he did pretty well. So good, big ups to that guy, but I'm not going to do it. So she says, "Ye who flow through the veins of darkness, I grant thee power upon the 7 vessels. Those who divide the flesh and blood of the great Zebrit, I invoke thy names. Zillion, Lisa," that's who it is, it's Lisa. "Gamu," the big guy. "Jimoda," the weird little guy. "Igarowitz, Amon." And we see people, shades of other people who are not there. They're like little, they almost look like kind of like voodoo dolls or something. It's interesting is that at least one of these people has something clearly defined in their form, which is that they have a staff on their back. They're also very tall and slim compared to the others. So it makes you wonder if we will see these other people at some point in the future. Maybe we will. Amon is also, as has been pointed out, a pretty famous demonic name. It's been used in a few things. Dragon Quest is one that comes to mind right now. So Brago punches the arm off of Zillion's body. "Oppressed heretical forces," which, this is very demonic once again, heretical, The arm leaps at Sherry this time, can free this power from suppression. Brago says, "Damn!" He jumps at Sherry, punches on the arm, destroys it. Sherry dodges out of the way and notices, "Yes, it still hurts, but I can move just fine. The 4 mouths that stem from my body shall aid you in your transformation." Okay, so we have a central magical circle right in front of her. We have 4 other magical circles in front of the mouths that are going to help her. What the difference would be if she just did this on her own, I'm not sure. I suppose if it is just like such a complex bit of sorcery that maybe it takes really long to do, you have to say a whole lot, and the mouths are accomplishing that. I imagine them kind of in chorus, like a little sing song almost. You gotta get used to writing on sorcery vertically now. Yeah, that you might have to if they're not translating these into English. May your strength be reborn and unleashed in a new form. And so the fragments of Zillion's original body dissipate and flow towards building this new body out of flesh. And we see these weird waves and worms of flesh coming into his new form. In return, entrust your own will to me. Doruan, Rikaluta, Riakaluta, Doruan. Which Doruan sounds a little bit like a Zatch Bell sort of spell word. By Shunt. A Shunt. You see how bad I am at this? A Shunt. Let our powers unite. So this has upgraded Zillion. I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of how he looks here. This is, pretty classic Raikou, like half monster, but not quite design. It's not very sleek, you know what I mean? It's still like there's a lot going on there. Justin's Game, what's up? Happy New Year to you as well. Happy first chapter of the year. So we have New Zillion here. He has an eye coming out of his chest, also very demonic. And he has this weird little weapon that's a part of his hand. We go back to Kyo, who we haven't gotten any dialogue from yet. Oh man, what the hell is that? We have to cross over to Brago's side so we can lend some support. Sherry's pretty badly hurt. You have Jamoda, who's watching, and now who is melting his body and his face, surrounding Kyo, who is surprised. Zatch says, Kiyomaro! But the big guy grabs him by the arm. Luckily, Zatch has his mantle, which he throws at Kyo, pushes him out of the way. Kyo lands on his feet. Zakaraga! Casts Zakaraga right through the big guy. It's still a powerful spell. He could block it with his arms, but his body is not covered like his arms and legs are. But this guy doesn't really seem to care. He creepily smiles, and then he grabs Zatch by his arm. And so my question right now is, I'm not sure if the ga is coming from this guy or Zatch. It's kind of hard to tell because it could be a weird demon laugh from this guy, or it could be Zatch, who is in great pain at this guy grinding his arms down and probably breaking a lot of bones and probably very, very painful. The second page is definitely Zatch screaming. He's not having a good time, and he's probably not going to be able to use his arms for the rest of this fight. And I assume he can be healed afterwards by Tia. But this is probably a really bad injury. I don't think you could come through this, even if you're a Momoto, with your arms merely, smarting. I think they're more hurt than that. So, you think about it in the grand scheme of injuries that Zatch has suffered, this is probably one of the worst ones. So Kyo says, we can't even bounce the enemy away with our shield as long as Gash is stuck in that position. I'm not going to let anyone interfere with this fight. Brago and Cherry are as good as dead. So Jamoda is now melting so much, his body is dissipating, his teeth are falling out. He's okay with this. He's fine. Is he dying? I don't know. But he's okay with it. For we are the Zebritza brothers, siblings to the heart of Black Flame, who are feared throughout the land. So this is the backstory for this group of people. Sort of explains why they're all together. They're multiple teams sent after Shari and Brago, and they all know each other. Whatever their backstory is, they are demonic and feared, but also possibly oppressed, according to the spell. It's hard to know exactly what's going on. I sort of hope we learn more, which we might if we see the remaining members of this group. The Zabrit brothers, which includes brothers and sisters, I suppose. Brago lunges at the newly empowered Zillion, but Zillion raises his hand, very confident, and blocks the punch. This has a huge, sends out a huge shockwave, takes out chunks of the ground like Dragon Ball Z. Extremely strong punch, extremely strong block. Sherry says he took the attack head on. Meanwhile, the plants, they're still chanting. They're still chanting. So they're plants on chains. They're still working on Zillion's new body. And what they're doing is they are transforming his arms slowly. This is all biological. It's a weird thing, biology turned into materials. Reminds you a little bit of Vector Ball. Thank you, Zatch Gamer. I really hope we learn more. And my best guess is that Zabreed is a heretic who performed sorcery to divide himself into 7 different entities. Possible. So Zillion's arm turns into this really weird weapon. I don't know exactly how you would describe this. It reminds me a little bit of that bladed chain with the bladed sickle with the weight on the end of it that you sometimes see in things. I forget what that's called. It's sort of like a weird version of that has a lot of segments with blades and then the very heavy weight on the end. Yeah, I don't remember what it's called either. But she says, Zillion, you've got 12 more seconds to kill, which might be, before he would die, which, as we've seen, using the Mamoto's power in this manner often kills the person who is empowered by it. We don't necessarily know that he would die because we don't actually see the spell kill him. He smiles and throws this thing at Brago. Brago tries to block it, but actually breaks Brago's arm. Very strong impact. Did Brago's arm just break from the impact? Lisa is happy about this. This guy's swinging it every which way. He's already very experienced with this weapon. 2 of these segments go on either side of Brago's head. And just before they're going to close in, they go... Brago dodges out of the way. Sherry casts Gigano Race very quickly. And it hits pretty head-on. Maybe he leans over and just kind of lets it graze him. It's kind of hard to tell. But it hits and does damage. He's not... he can block a punch with his hand, but apparently the rest of his body is not as strong as his hands. What a powerful spell. It was even able to maim Zillion in his current form. Continues to swing this thing around, trying to do damage. Almost gets Sherry with the weight. But before he can, Sherry casts Gravy Ray. Brago sticks his hand behind himself, sends the spell down to the ground, just like Gravy Ray is supposed to do. I like the effect that Raikou always has around Brago's hand when he uses Gravy Ray. I don't remember how much he did that in the first series, but I like that. Love this panel. The panel of Sherry almost getting got by the weapon. I didn't think Brago could use Gravy Ray the way he did on Sherry's wound. He must have learned it over the years. Yeah, Justin's game. That's something that, we've seen, like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. We have seen a lot of, you're right, Zatch Gamer. He controlled it and left space for Sherry within the gravitational field. I didn't really think of that. I kind of thought maybe it's in front of her. That doesn't really make much sense since the spell is behind her. So you're correct. So that's yet another example, Justin's game, of the Mamoto fine-tuning these spells. And we saw this first with Rashiel, with Zatch being able to move it with his hands. We saw it again with Conchame being able to create a really complicated optical illusion of the street behind him to hide the incoming train from the enemies. And, I do feel like we saw it with Tia at some point as well. I don't remember what exactly she might have done. Would have been Saifojo or Saisu. I think maybe they did something. She might have remote casted Saisu. But that's clearly something that, Raikou is always thinking about and showing, well, these Mamoto are adults now. They've trained. How have they improved the way they use this magic? And it's really cool. It's really cool that he continues to show that. So Brago punches through Zillion's arm. Once again, the rest of this guy's body, not as good as blocking as with his body as his hands. Paisley says, hang on, do the characters remember the spells they knew from the last series? No, they don't. They only know the spells that are given to them by the spell element that is put in their spell book to revive them. So, Conchime escaped the Momoto world, and I forget what his situation exactly was. He didn't need to steal a spell bottle, or he did steal a spell bottle in the Momoto world. He did have his spells taken away. He got them back. That's why he had his basic spells. Zatch only has Zakir, Rashield, and Zakirga from the spell fragment that Wade had. And Tia only has, I think, Saisu and Tsuyoshi, right? And Saifojio. Revive. All these hoes dead. Not all of them, fortunately. Zatch was dead and Braga was dead. So they needed to have the spell element added to this blank spell book as part of the revival process. They also need to have a sarcophagus. There's a few steps that are needed. We've only seen it a couple times with those two characters. Tia, the whether you're revived or not revived from death, she does also have Masha's shield. Okay, whether you're revived or not, you still only have whatever spells are present in the spell fragment that you get, along with spells that you learn, new spells that you unlock, like Conchime did with Moparu. So we're going to be seeing that more, unlocking new spells. Of course, eventually the characters probably are going to get all their old spells back, but I assume that the higher level spells are being used by the higher level villains right now. So we haven't really seen any of those yet. We're just seeing the lower level spells used in better ways by stronger characters. Characters who are stronger now than they were before. So he punches through Zillion's arm. Lisa is quite surprised by this. He tries to punch Zillion in the face, but the eye on Zillion's chest, I'm not exactly sure. It used to be high up on his chest. Now it sort of got lower, and it opens up in this gross biological... Brago, his stomach! This weird eye thing shoots out at Brago. Brago punches through Zillion's shoulder at the same time as this thing gets him. It looks like in his face, but we see later that it's not. We see shortly that it's not. So Series 2 is all about dead, rotted children being brought back from the dead as zombies. Whack. I mean, in a sense, They're not all dead. Some of them are dead, and they could be described as zombies in some form. We don't really know what they are exactly. They have new bodies. So Brago has this thing sticking into him, a lot of spikes into his shoulder. I didn't think she'd notice in time, but you see, Brago was never. The parts of his weapon start to fall apart. My only target. These parts of his weapon start to move on their own towards Sherry to attack her. But Sherry leaps up, flipping, doing the flip, so high in the air. I don't know how she can do this, especially in her injured state as she was. But Brago must have healed her up pretty good, because she avoids all these pieces which go every which way. Bing! In the floor, whatever they're doing, knocking into each other, whatever they're doing. She flips in the air above it. This is one of the coolest pages in the whole series, I think. I said on Discord, this is my favorite page since Fulgore blocking Gozer when he does save Conchime in his first, move in that battle. This is such a cool page. It's so cool seeing that the chaos on the bottom that she would have been caught in, and her just anticipating that and flipping up, the sky with the sort of circular perspective. I love your sound effects. Thank you. I try. They don't always come out the way I want them. But yeah, this is awesome. Zillion is extremely surprised by it. He thinks, how can this be? Sherry looks a little messed up in her abdomen in this panel, but I think it's just the angle. Brago and I had her full attention. How did she avoid that attack? Oh, there's no way she could have dodged them all. How did she avoid that attack? But she couldn't even see it coming. Brago grabs Zillion's head. You should know better than to take Sherry lightly. He's taken the weird eye thing out of his shoulder as well. How could you have gone and made the fatal mistake of underestimating my partner? Classic no eyes Brago. We love it. Zillion smiles. Incredible. You two are absolutely incredible. This really was the greatest duel I could have ever hoped for. So a common theme with the villains in Zatch Bell 2 has been that they are not particularly annoyed to be defeated most of the time. They're often sort of resigned to it and happy that they had a good battle. Wake was this way. I think Levy was a little bit this way as well. And it kind of makes a level of sense because they probably most of them already died once. I'm convinced that Cloud-Eyed Brago is when he's trying to look more intimidating. Yeah, I don't know if he's trying. I think he just naturally does it, you know. So Sari casts one more time, Gigano Race! And Brago, the spell appears to sort of go right from his hand into Zillion's body. It doesn't come out and push him back or hit him like that. Just go, you know, and I don't know, this just, you see the waves coming out from his head, but there's no physical, real energy like we normally see from this spell. So I don't know what's going on inside Zillion's head, but I don't think it's anything good. I think, you know, this guy's going to be pretty well and truly dead at the time the next chapter rolls around, unless they have more cards up their sleeve, because they do have a couple guys that are still around. So we will see what happens. Raikou is known to extend fights longer than anyone thinks they're going to go. But for now, it definitely looks like Zillion is dead. So, more cards up their sleeve. Yeah, I didn't mean that, but yeah, that's the way it is. I don't, Paisley, I don't know what DTWMMN is. I'm trying to think. It's a long name, a long acronym. But that is the end of this chapter. A great combat-focused chapter, the best one since the end of Zatch and Kyo versus Wig and Gip, in my opinion. And man, you love to see it. If there's one thing Raikou's still great at, and he's still great at several things, but if there's like one thing that I have to highlight that's been really showcased in the series, it's just good, exciting fights with, you know, a great back and forth of, you know, surprises and actions from both sides. And I really can't wait to see that continue as the series goes on. So I was really happy with this chapter. You know, I've had my complaints about some recent chapters in terms of there being a little bit too much of a formula in the series. But when it gets down to the action, it's hard to be disappointed too much, you know? It's hard to be too disappointed. So I had a lot of fun with this chapter. And it's a shame that, you know, we're not getting one next month. Because there's still a lot, you know, that we're wondering about. We are wondering what's going to happen with Sherry and her kids and her husband. Sherry's going to have to go with the heroes. How are her kids going to react to this? How is her husband going to react to this? How is Sherry, now that Brago is back in the picture, what is she going to say to her husband? What is Brago going to say to her husband? Yes, Paisley, Sherry has kids. I could kind of tell before that you may have not read too much of this series. Sherry does have a husband and kids, and the husband is a philanderer. He is cheating on her. And it's, I think a lot of fans weren't too happy to see her, her life in such a state. It was a bizarre sort of reversal of what many people thought. I thought Sherry's husband was Coco. Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people sort of wanted was, you know, I don't know if you could have reasonably expected Raikou to canonize the Sherry and Coco pairing, but you could have definitely expected him to have Coco be a very big part of Sherry's life in the modern day. Unfortunately, we have not seen Coco in Zatch Bell 2, even though we spent several chapters with Sherry now. Hopefully we will see her soon. If not soon, then eventually, because I think a lot of people, regardless of what you think about Coco and Sherry, are curious to see how she's doing. Sherry deserves so much better. A lot of people think so, which is why we really need to see how this all ends. We need to see what's the point. It was kind of hard to tell for me, always hard to tell what the um, what the point is of Raikou having this be Sherry's life. I don't think being heteronormative is subversive. It's certainly very disappointing given how the original series went. Yeah, I think for a lot of people it was disappointing. And I don't think that it's necessarily the heteronormativity that was subversive. It was just the fact that Sherry does not seem to be doing great and she is not happy. And, subversive, this is, for many people, not a good subversion either. It's so, what raise means is not subversive as in subverting the normal thing in our society. Raise just means subverting what readers would expect from Zatch Bell. You know what I mean? Um, so that's what Raikou is doing. He was subverting the reader's expectations. He wasn't subverting like some sort of a general expectation by the public. Sherry was supposed to have a wonderful life after fighting so hard for it. And then we see that what she has is not what she had earned. That's how it seemed for a lot of people. And it seemed like what Raikou was trying to say was that Sherry had to choose between her community and herself, and she chose her community. If of that sort of thing, I don't know if he is saying that that is a noble thing to do from Sherry. I assume he is. I don't know if he is saying that not only is that a noble thing to do for Sherry, but that it is fine for her life to remain that way. Once again, we have to see how things are going to shake out. This is only half of this arc of Sherry that we're going to see right here in these few chapters. So it's really hard to know exactly what Raikou is going to say, Yeah. No, I get it, Paisley. I think Ray's understands it too. A lot of people are confused. In Zatch Bell 2, Raikou has generally been so kind to the characters and the way he expresses them. Both Consomme and Fulgore are brave, and people thought Consomme was a coward when we saw him running away, and then we realized he was only trying to save his little brother, who he's defending and protecting, and he's done so well at portraying the characters. Tia, grown up, was more than anyone expected, closer to what people wanted than what anyone could have reasonably expected, and she did super well defending her people. And Megumi was walking through fire to get to Tia. So Raikou's done very, very, very well to portray the characters in the sequel. I'm sorry, Paisley, if I'm describing a lot of stuff that you don't really know about. But that was an extra reason why it was very surprising for him to show that Sherry is kind of down in the dumps a little bit. Is Tia actually likable this time? I would say that she is. Many people, I think, liked what her character was in the original, but if you didn't, then you would probably like her more in this. Yeah. If you want to hear about it, that's fine. I'm just saying, if I'm like describing briefly things and you're like, whoa, what did he just say? And I don't elaborate, then, forgive me, because I can't, I unfortunately cannot go through the series thus far. We're 19 monthly chapters in. We're in volume 4, I believe. What do they do? 5 volumes per chapter, I think. Tia is definitely more mature. We've gotten one moment of her, being very angry at Zatch and beating him up a little bit. But that was like our 4th or 5th chapter of seeing her. So it took a bit to get there. And she was really standing up for her people before that time. So not only do we really want to know what's going to happen with Sherry and her family, but we also got to know what's happening with that dragon egg. Like Ray said right when I finished the chapter, the Thunder Dragon egg that Zatch asked for in the Momoto world while they were in the Momoto world, they're not there anymore. They came back. We don't know what happened between the time that Acheron was going to call this meeting with all the clan leaders, and then Zatch asked, we need to find this Thunder Dragon egg. We don't know what happened between that point and now. We haven't seen Kyo with some, egg-shaped object on him. So We don't know, but presumably they do have the Thunder Dragon egg. Presumably it will hatch into the dragon on the cover of Volume 1, and also now the dragon that Raikou illustrated in his New Year's greeting on Twitter. Because it is the year of the dragon, Raikou drew this very same baby Bao, as some people have been calling it, baby Bowserkerga. And we don't really know, is it a spell? Is it not a spell? Is it both a spell and not a spell at the same time? We don't really know. And hopefully next chapter, now that this fight is over, if it is over, which it might not be, we can figure that out. But we are going to have to wait until at the very least March 1st to get that, because Raikou and Bergden board already announced that they are taking a break this month. I think they are working on hiring more people. And I think a lot of fans just assume that they had to work really hard to get this chapter out in time. So was this chapter delayed a week? No, it wasn't. No, it came out around on time. So people are kind of okay with giving them a break. I like that they announced the break so early. I appreciate that. Instead of, getting close to when it's being, when the chapter would drop, going, ooh, are we going to get a chapter? And then finding out it's not going to happen. I like that they announced the break very soon after the release, so we can just say, okay, we'll leave Zatch Bell 2B for a couple months, and then we'll come back, which is what we're going to do. Hopefully we can get that chapter in early March as opposed to later March. Sometimes they have changed the dates whenever they do breaks. So it was delayed. Okay, there you go. I don't have much more to say about the chapter or what's going to happen next. It was a fight chapter, so there's not too much that has changed in the general state of things from last chapter. I think the sorcery continues to be really interesting. I think, the things that are done with it, it kind of seems like if you know sorcery, you can basically do anything you want with the magic, within reason, which is another reason I really think Kyo should learn it. And maybe he will learn it. Something I've said two things. One thing I've said, which is now basically disproven, is that the baby Beo is a result of Kyo learning sorcery. That's not going to be true. But one thing I have also said is that we do not know what happens if a sorcerer, whether that be Momomoto's partner or someone else, were to empower a Momoto with their own element. We know that when the sorcerer empowers their own monster person with an element that was stolen from Momoto, it kills them. We don't know what happens if Kyo was to learn sorcery and it empowers Zatch with it. Might be very different. He might be able to use it indefinitely, as long as Kyo knows the incantations to use. That could be it, Zatch Bell Gamer. I don't know. I don't know if a deity is involved. I haven't gotten that vibe, but I guess maybe there have been some, whenever there's an incantation, it does often seem like the person is speaking to somebody, I don't know if it's just kind of the powers that be. This story is whack. It definitely seems to be that way, Paisley. I think there's going to be a lot more twists and turns still coming that we don't even know about. Bowserkerga is now in like a large fish tank, Paisley. All the spells were stolen from everybody, and Bowserkerga is in like a big fish tank that the villain has in his lair. So there you go. Yeah. Well, I mean, sorcery is, from what we've seen of it in this series, it's sort of like an unrestrained, like pure form of the magic that we've seen, like say, a Momoto is born with a spell type and they get spells that they learn that they are casted with a word that either they say while they're in the Momoto world or their partner says while they're in the human world, and it has a specific effect. So just imagine that instead of having that, written in a spell book and you can only read this one spell and it only has that one effect, imagine that you can just, what the building blocks of this is, and you can tell the magic power exactly what you want it to do. That's kind of what sorcery seems to be, which is why anytime someone has used it in the series, they take a physical representation of a Mamoto's spell element. We've seen this happen a lot, and sort of like break that or like release the power from it. It does, Paisley. It does seem to be like a deepening of the magic system of the original series, in my opinion. One difference is that, the spells seem to have a clear nomenclature to them where you can understand what the syllables actually mean. And this sorcery does not really seem to have that. It sort of seems to be gibberish, but that might just be because, to use the power in that form, it's a different thing. It's a different language, or it might just be because they didn't want to work on creating a whole thing to do that. It's a ritual for your Shiro each time. Okay, I'll have to look back on that. That's interesting. I don't remember invoking someone named your Shiro. So now that we're finished talking about the chapter, I want to spend a little bit talking about this mobile game. Maybe you didn't know about this either, Paisley. There is a new mobile game for the series out called Friends of Eternal Bonds. It's referred to as Tawakizu in the app name when you download it. It's sort of an abbreviation of the Japanese name. It's a long name. And this is, you just downloaded it. Okay, cool. Enjoy. This is a mobile game that seems purely based on the anime and not the manga, like the last mobile game, Golden Memories. And being purely based on the anime and published by Toei Animation, it unfortunately does not seem to be, what's the word? Approved. Not necessarily approved, but certainly not supported by Raikou. I'm not sure he has ever mentioned it in any tweets. That's a little disappointing. However, it seems like it was made by people who really like the series, and it, once again, like Golden Memories, brings a lot of the old voice actors back to record new lines, which is always awesome. So we can be sure it's going to at least cover the entire anime in the Fado arc. And actually, the story of the game actually starts with a snippet of the Fado arc, which I believe people who are more experienced with the anime ending, I've only seen it like one time over a decade ago, like Zatch Bell Gamer, have seen that it's based on the anime's version of those events. So that's interesting, but it is adding some new things. Something really interesting that the game is doing, which I haven't experienced this yet. I haven't jumped into it yet because reading story segments of this game is like a little annoying. I have to the log, when you click log and it shows you all the recent things characters have said, it fits 7 lines, right? So this game is all in Japanese. So what I have to do is every 7 lines, I hit log, take a screenshot of that, and continue to do that until the cutscene is over. Then I go into this app Google Lens, which I'm really glad I learned about because a few other people on the Discord were using it for this game, and translate that from Japanese, which isn't perfect, but it at least allows me to read basics of what's going on. And there's something that they do in this game, which is they have little unlockable episodes of how the Momotos and the partners met. And these are extrapolations on the illustrations Raikou drew for the volume title pages, which is really cool. And I can't wait to see what some of these are like, because it's stuff that we kind of know happened. We don't know any lines from all that, but it's going to be exciting to sort of see that a little expanded upon by whoever is writing this game. Is probably a big fan of the series. I wish they would just put it in English. Yeah, I mean, I do too. It's, Zatch Bell is not a hugely popular series in America, but there is nostalgia for it. I don't know how it's decided what mobile games are brought over and what aren't. I don't think it's going to be brought over, which is why I'm playing it in Japanese right now. But if it is, I will maybe switch to that as my main version of the game, because it's just annoying, not understanding a lot of what you're seeing on the screen. So that's a cool thing about Tawakizu, that they have those little chapters. Generally, the game is a pretty standard gacha. Something I find kind of interesting about it is that it only has rarities from 1 to 3 stars. There's only 3 levels of rarity. I don't know how normal that is for gacha, but in my experience, normally they do a little more than that. There'll be 4 or 5. I think Dragon Ball Legends, which I played, coincidentally, another 3D gacha as well. Many gacha are sort of either 2D or sort of 2.5D. But Dragon Ball Legends did have 3 levels until they added a 4th later on. They did say 4 stars going to come in the future. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know they said that. Justin's Game says, I'm happy my Japanese has improved. That's great. I'm happy for you. Playing this game has made me want to learn Japanese more than I have in a very long time. So that's something I noticed with the rarities that's interesting. But, the gameplay is a normal sort of auto battler, but with tapping for special moves. I think that's not a type of game that is new to the gacha genre at all. The thing is, Raise, that you can ascend your Momoto to be 4 stars. I wonder if it means that, or if it means actually getting a Momoto that's natively 4-star. That type of gameplay isn't anything new, but I do really like the way the game looks. I like the 3D. I like kind of the cell shading they have. All the characters are really cute, and they all have lines. And, if your favorite Momoto is a really minor character, this is your chance to really do something, and be able to use them in a game. Golden Memories did kind of have that, but you couldn't play as a lot of those characters. You could fight them, and you could use their spells, but you couldn't really play as them. Yes, Baltro has a voice. Zatchable Gamer, did we ever know that? Because I heard that, and I wasn't even 100% sure that was Baltro. I was like, who is that I just heard talking? Is that supposed to be Stang, Baltro's partner? I really don't know. Oh, we hear Baltro's armored voice. Okay. Paisley, my favorite Momoto is, of course, obvious. I don't see it on your YouTube. Is it on your? Are you on the? I don't remember who you are from the Discord. If you are on the Discord, so I apologize for that. So I can't link that. So I don't know what your favorite Momoto is. So that's funny if that is Baltro's natural voice. That's pretty hilarious. Salon. Okay, so you're what's your name on the Discord? I'm trying to. I don't have. I'm not going to click over to it right now, but I know the Salon Enjoyer, Psychogia. Okay. I'll remember that, Psychogia. Let me plug in my laptop charger real quick.